but in this less formal gathering, we thought it would be wonderful for them to each take just a couple of minutes and share with us something outstanding that they remember about Bingham High School during the years that they served here. So, can we start with Mr. Beret?
I think one of the biggest things that I find as I've gone through the years, the number of schools that I've been to in my different assignments in athletics and activities, is the great faculty and student bodies that I had while I was at Bingham High School. They were outstanding. And I was somewhat unique when I was principal at the Canyon. I had student bodies that all came on the buses, and they all came at one time. And then at 3 o'clock when the bell rang, all of them left at one time. We only had 10 cars in the parking lots. So everything was great. The student body was great, and the faculty was great. And I certainly appreciate the invitation for being here, and hope that they have many, many great years ahead of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda. I can say one or perhaps two things about this building. The first is I obviously don't recognize it. It is not the one I built. Things have changed except for the wind outside, and that's still the same. I love Bingham High School. When Don Parr asked me to be the principal following Mr. Burry, he said, "Tom, you will walk in that building and you will feel the tradition of Bingham High School." And of course, in my mind's eye, I said, sure. And lo and behold, I walked in and walked across or near that seal. No one walked on the seal, or they reaped Tommy Pizzella's. I don't even know what to call it. The tradition was there, and it remains there. This is the great high school as far as I'm concerned. People come out of the woodwork as you go to tournaments and other things where Bingham is there and is represented. It's a magnificent school. One short story I would give you in terms of the busing that Glenn mentioned. As the school grew up there, they asked us not to have the athletes park in the back during the winter because of the snows that were up there, and the buses were unable to get back and forth into the bus garage. So I went on the intercom one afternoon and I asked the students, please don't park in the back so the buses can get in and out. And I asked Val Farnsworth, who was the assistant superintendent or assistant principal, I said, Val, let's get here at 5:30 in the morning and make sure no one parks back there. You know how many students showed up? 0. Not one. The caliber of the students at Bingham High School. I love them. I love this school. Thank you.
Well, I've got the mic, so I can have fun. No, seriously, I want to thank Mr. Burry. Where are you? So far away, I can't see you. I was teaching chemistry at Brighton High School, and he says, I think you'd be a better assistant principal. And so he made me assistant principal. And I taught chemistry at Jordan High and at Hillcrest High. And guess who I met at Hillcrest High? A couple of people who were on your on the film. Dale Schick was assistant principal, and Joe P. Jensen was the principal. Great educators. I learned so much from them. And then I think Glenn got ready to strip me out because Tom invited me to come over to Bingham with him as his assistant principal. But I love those two guys. They're really great, and I appreciate them. You know, I have to tell the story, just one. Because in the film, they have this motorcycle. Well, you know, I taught science for a long time, and I was out there in Cottingham with a couple of their helpers, and curious about if you really could get through the door. Well, they would fit, but if he was tipped just about 2 or 3 centimeters either way, it never got out the door. So we were watched over. I sincerely believe that. And I really enjoyed my time at Bingham and all Georgia School District. It's been a great experience, and I thank the committee too for inviting us over, and have a great day.
It was quite some time ago this past year, several months ago, Scott Crump came by. I don't know if he was setting me up for this occasion or not, but he had any idea this was going to happen. He says, "What do you remember most? What was your highlight while you were at Bingham High School?" I wish I'd have thought more about that at that time. I'm not a new impromptu speaker. I needed all that time, Scott, to be able to put something together. But you can't be a principal at Bingham High School and not be gathered up and taken in by the spirit that is here. If there's anything that I remember, it's the thing that's portrayed so much, I thought, in the assembly today. And I appreciate the way the students were, the way they accepted that. I also remember, and I'm a homegrown, so to speak, over in Draper. Maybe you know about Draper, pretty homogeneous group of people. Well, there's nothing homogeneous about Bingham High School. It was the diversity that really I loved and appreciated. And it taught me as much as I taught them, I'm sure, at that time. It was a good experience. There were a lot of good people. One of the things that happened, I need to just make mention of, was Linda was an assistant principal when I was here. She does put on a good party all the time. She's very, very good at it. And she's had a lot of experience. It's a fun experience, a good experience, a wonderful professional experience. I love the kids here. I love the faculty who's been here. Unfortunately, they seem to have disappeared, those people. It tells me something about my age or theirs, or yours, Scott, as the case may be. Thank you very much.
Which one of you was the principal the night we made it rain on the gym floor?
Jim was.
Mr. Shirtliff. I don't know if everyone's heard that story or not.
Go ahead, tell it.
I think I was the student government advisor at the time, and we really wanted to get everybody all hepped up about this big ball game. And it was a ball game with Hillcrest, and the region title was on the line. And so I said, well, why don't we make some little table tent things and put them all over the tables in the cafeteria all weekend. We used the wanted poster idea, wanted 2,500 fans at the basketball game this Friday night. And the students gave announcements every morning, and it just went. Well, we got our 2,500 fans all right. That place was so packed. People were standing around the edges. We were trying to stand on the sides to hold them back. It got so hot in this gymnasium down here that you could hardly breathe. And one of the custodians went over and opened the door to the outside. And pretty soon, all that heat and that cold air coming in, we had condensation like you couldn't believe. It actually rained on the gym floor. And it was when we had that, what do we call it, tartan floor? It was some kind of man-made material, and it got slick. And the kids couldn't stand up. We finished the basketball game on half a court and still holding people back. It was unbelievable. And after that, the state made capacity limits for rooms in schools. But that was a real highlight. Quite a party we had that night.
Bingham won the game.
Bingham did win. It was amazing, that experience. Should I tell you what class I went to? I graduated in 52. Bingham High School. And I went to Bingham as a student from East High School as a sophomore. And as I remember, it was one of the best things that happened to me in my life. At East High School at that time, it was very big, very powerful, and very cliquey. And I was very quiet. And when I came to Bingham, you had no choice.
with that number of students. You got busy and you did what you needed to do with those 62 students in the high school. And that's what we graduated with. It later became very large and then larger and larger until the time when I left Bingham, it was 3,000 students. And you think about the number of students that have gone through Bingham High School in 100 years, and how that group of people have influenced our society and the place where we live. And that's a tremendous thing. That is very, very important to realize that a school can do that much. And it is still doing. Our students are good students. When I stood up there in front of them today, I had the same kind of feeling that I had as a principal. I felt like they were respectful, questioning, interested, sometimes bored, but a very, very good group of students. And that's probably because they came from a very good society that surrounds this high school. Because I found that our population was supportive and interested in what we were doing. Now I need to just say a word about the teachers. Because when I came to Bingham, I found some of the best friends that I have ever known. And some of the first friends, surprisingly enough, was the coaching staff. And I was really worried about that. I thought, how can a woman identify with the coaching staff? But they are a good group, good solid group of educators. They have a lot of the ideals that I believe in, and as I grew to know them, they became very important in my life, as did all of the teaching staff, the academics, the music, and the drama. You know, the whole thing was a wonderful experience. And I loved it. And I love you. And thank you for inviting me today.
It was very fortunate for me coming back to be the principal. I was a student here, and all of the staff had moved on, and they did not remember how good of a student I was, so they couldn't pass that information on. I loved being a student at Bingham High. I was a student body president, and so today when everybody stood up for Lehigh, it reminded me that the same old tradition that we had way back in 1964 when I was a graduate. And so when I came back to Bingham, it was, that song we'll always remember just kept resounding through my brain, because I did remember about every day that I was a student at Bingham High. And then being the principal here for 4 years, before that I was an assistant principal for a year and a half. It was amazing. You know, when I think about the responsibility of a principal, everybody wants us to come to their things. You know, we have assistant principals, but, we are the ones that signs the check, so we have a little more power. And so they like us to come to their activities. And so 3, 4, sometimes 5 nights a week, we would come to the activities. And people would ask me, how can you do that? And I would say, well, I know the kids. It's fun. It's like coming back and watching your own kids participate. And so those years went by fast. I appreciated every minute that I was at Bingham High School. It's been mentioned, we got pretty crowded, but we got through those years. And I remember the last graduation, I shook everybody's hand and graduated, and I had sores because there were so many of them in my hands. But thank you for having us back. I appreciate the recognition that we had here today, and thank you very much.
I want to, I would be remiss if I didn't thank those involved with the assembly today. The planning's been going on for years for that assembly. And Joe, Jolene Jolly, has spent hundreds of hours pulling pictures together and going through the histories and helping Scott with the script. And it's been a collaboration, but Joe has just done a terrific job. We have, and she hates giving speeches, and we had a meeting about a month ago, and we were trying to decide who was going to kind of do the 100-year welcome speech. And I said, well, Joe, you've got to do it. And then it went to Scott, and then it went to Linda, and then it went to Marilyn, and even Scott Thomas got thrown into that for a little while, and it finally ended up on Linda, but Joe didn't want to do it, so she didn't have to. But Joe just did a great job. And that was the day that I was dog-tired, about 8 o'clock at night, and she just said, I feel so sorry for you. After our luncheon, you want to walk around the building. Now, there's a couple other things planned today. At 1:25, we're going in the gym with about 2,500 kids. We have 2,530 here right now. We're going to go into the gym, and we're just going to do a rah-rah bingham with the whole student body together kind of a thing, and a lot of our teachers. And we're going to play some games and do some old cheers. And Mayor Money is going to be here to do a proclamation. The governor was not able to be with us today, but the governor actually signed a proclamation, and this is Bingham High School Centennial Day for the state of Utah. And so, it's kind of a neat thing. Thanks to Scott Thomas. Scott Thomas did all of that work. And we've got several things that have gone on around the building. I hope you've had a chance to see our Centennial Plaza out in the front by the flagpoles. Some classes commissioned a great statue out there. It's done by a guy by the name of Stan Watts, who was also commissioned to do the fireman on the Ground Zero in New York. So we put a centennial around there, and we're selling bricks for $100. That's what's helping support all of this. It's still a donation. It's not a sale. It's a donation. But if you haven't got your brick, please do so. You can see there's samples out there for the bricks. Coming through the building, we have our old miner statue in the main hall, also class gifts from Ray Jensen's time. It was completed after Ray left, but that statue is kind of his legacy. We have some main projects along the hall there. There's plaques that describe them, but several projects from the old Copperton School, including the building plans that Scott Crump got through a library up at the University of Utah. So we framed those. Pictures of all 22 of the principals are out in the hall along here. Other Centennial projects down the hall. Please continue through the gym if you're not going to stay with us for the afternoon activity. Our seal that was a design of the Centennial Committee is in the center of our gym floor. And that's one reason why we wanted another activity in the gym this afternoon to do some stuff there. And then we've just almost completed a brand new stadium that's being dedicated Friday night at the Jordan game. New scoreboard, new turf field. The track is painted. Scott, have you been out there? Yeah. And there's a long history to all of these projects going on, but if you'd like to see what I think is the most beautiful stadium, high school stadium in the state of Utah, please continue out through there. Bingham is a great place, and I'm going to finish with one more story, and then Joe. We were in this room, and a young man was receiving a $1,000 scholarship. His name was Scott Winder. And he was receiving a $1,000 scholarship from the Foothill Rotary Club. Now, this is a Rotary Club up in Holiday, and I don't know how they ever got attached to this, but for several years, they would give a couple of $1,000 scholarships, and we'd always hold a closing luncheon towards the end of the year, early May, somewhere around there. And you've heard of our pinning ceremony. We have a pinning ceremony that's done to recognize. engagement and involvement with our students. Well, I was pinning Scott at the time, and I was handing him a check for $1,000, and he was exuberant. I mean, he was thrilled. And out of his enthusiasm, he said, "It's a great day to be a Miner." And that's where that came from, from Scott Winter. And I like that so much. It just kind of represented the feeling here at Bingham that I added it to all of the pinnings that we've done for a long time. And it's said all the time around here, and it's even on a brick out front in the plaza. Today is a wonderful celebration of the Bingham legacy for thousands and thousands of people. We hope you enjoy your day with us, and we hope you feel the presence of Bingham. It's truly special. There's nothing like it, in my opinion. It's just a great place, and it's a great day to be a Miner.
Now I know I don't have to say anything because Tom said it all. I told him I just wanted to be the curtain puller for this assembly and for the activities that we have going on here, but I truly want you to know how much I enjoyed my years at Bingham High School. Short as they were, I feel like we accomplished many, many, many things here at Bingham. They pretty much call me the redecorating principal. We put in 8 new labs, 8 new classrooms up here. We shortened the library. We're redecorating that. We started the Centennial Plaza. We started the football stadium, which Thomas had to finish. Thank you. And we started just a lot of projects, and it was an exciting time to be here because of all of the excitement around the Centennial. I want Linda to know how much I appreciate her for taking on this task. It's been 5 years in the working, and we met once a month for those 3 years that I was here, and worked on this project, and it has been an incredible task, and you've done a wonderful job. And I want Marilyn and the Alumni Foundation to know how much I appreciate them. I had no idea when I came to Bingham High School what it would be like. And what has impressed me so much is the way the Alumni Foundation care so much about this school and preserving the history of this school. It just makes you swell with pride because it is such an incredible task that they have taken on. They do not want anyone to forget what has happened in Bingham High in the past and what is going on with Bingham High in the future. And I believe that that is the same mission that our faculty here has. I have been so impressed with them, with their dedication to the students, dedication to excellence, dedication to the history of Bingham High School. And I would just like to thank you all for my time here. Thanks.
It was fun to have Joe here as we've been planning for this. Tom and Joe and I have worked pretty well together, and they've just changed responsibilities here at the beginning of the school year, so everything was able to go right on, and I really appreciate that. I don't know if all of our special guests, even our principals, though we handed them a book, I don't think they've had a chance to look at it. This Bingham High School, The First 100 Years, which has been authored by Scott Crump, is a truly remarkable edition. Scott had done the history for Jordan School District a few years ago. Last year, he prepared the history book for Jordan High School Centennial. Prior to that, he had authored the history of Copperton, Utah, and he co-authored the history of Riverton, Utah. He also wrote the history of the copper mine, which is sold at the observation point up here at Kennecott. So he's not a newcomer to writing histories. He's a practicing historian. But for him to do the history of his own school was truly a labor of love, and we appreciate it, Scott. And of course, our book had to be bigger and better than Jordan's, so ours has many more pages and just chock full of photographs. Adam Moore, who also graduated from Bingham, is now a graphic designer, a graphic artist, who works for a company that actually lays out pages for books, and so he did the artwork, the design of this particular book, and we're really proud of it. And pass the word. We have thousands of copies of those because we just know there are a lot of Bingham miners out there who would want to miss that. And a lot of what you saw in the assembly today parallels what is in that book, so we really do appreciate that. We also have a lot of other memorabilia that will be for sale throughout the entire year. It's been mentioned that we have our official logo. We have pins, keychains, shirts, sweatshirts, hats, all with the official logo. In addition, we have coins with a picture of this school in Copperton on one, this school on the other, and one coin that even has both of them. So pass the word to everybody that you meet who has a connection or interest in Bingham that those things are available, because we wouldn't want to miss anybody who would really like to have something to remember this occasion by. And today is only the first event. Remember to share that information too. This is the beginning, but it's not the end. This goes on all year, and the rest of our activities are pretty much in conjunction with traditional Bingham activities. Homecoming is coming up in a couple of weeks, and involved with every aspect of homecoming, there will be a centennial event. And then when it comes candlelight service time, we're having a special candlelight matinee on a Saturday at 2 o'clock to accommodate maybe some of our older graduates who would like to be part of that again. So that's the way it will run throughout the year, and we just can't celebrate this enough. It is a wonderful opportunity. Most of us in this room who have been administrators have had an opportunity to serve in more than one school. I had an opportunity to be a principal in a middle school and 2 high schools, and I dearly loved all of those places and the people that I met there and the experiences that I had. But there's something special about the school that gave you your roots. And there's something special about Bingham, whether you came from here originally or not. And I think we touched on that at the assembly today. There's something in that keeping the tradition alive. And it's not a false tradition, it's the real deal. And the public has always been so supportive of this school. In old Bingham, Bingham High School was the place to be. Everybody in Bingham was in the gymnasium on Friday night. No exceptions. It was the center, the hub of activity in Bingham. And it was the same way in Copperton, and it amazed me how it became a similar sort of thing when we moved to South Jordan. Because nobody who goes to Bingham now was part of the group up the canyon. And yet those same traditions have engendered those same kinds of feelings of loyalty and commitment and pride in the school. And that's neat, and I think that's what really sets the school apart. And we hope everybody can get in touch again with those traditions and those feelings throughout this centennial.